you're a Starbucks that runs out of pumpkin spice for the day, just close! We came for the pumpkin spice! We came for the cold foam! We came for the frappuccino! I thought you were all about diversity, leftists. I thought you were all about drink, and a BLM mask is making my caramel macchiato liberal. Just screw the drink up, liberal. Just screw it up like you always do. Leftists can never get the caramel drizzle right on caramel. Do you want to know what my pronouns are? Proud American! Build the frickin' wall! Hi, thanks.
September 30th, 1999, Christian Walker is the 23-year-old son of Herschel Walker, a famous running back at the University of Georgia, later playing in the NFL for the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, New Jersey General, Minnesota Vikings, and the New York Giants. Despite having no political background, in 2021, former U.S. President Donald J. Trump encouraged Herschel Walker to run for the U.S. Senate in the state of Georgia. In fact, Walker lived in Texas during this time and had to re-establish himself as a Georgia resident. Later on, Walker would lose the Georgia Senate runoff race. But that's irrelevant at this moment. Now that we have some background on Herschel Walker, we can finally delve into his son. Despite being an openly gay and biracial man, Christian has supported Trump in the past, as well as supported his very conservative father. He often describes himself as a free speech radicalist, and many of Christian's older videos consisted of him screaming and ranting about his hatred towards the political left in a Starbucks drive-thru before placing his order in a very effeminate, sweet voice. I just really do not think that there is any way that the Starbucks employees didn't hear him screaming at some point in time, and I think he wanted to make that known. There was also another occasion where he got into a fight with Kalani. I don't really know what happened there, but that was a big thing where he got into a fight with Kalani in the Starbucks drive-thru. I don't really think I'm going to get into that because it doesn't really go into his further content, though. Even though it may not excuse any of the things he has said in the past or done in the past, his childhood does offer explanation for them and kind of leads you to have a lot more sympathy for him. His parents were divorced in 2002, meaning he was about 3 years old. And in 2005, his mother, who is Cindy Grossman, received a protective order against her ex-husband after he allegedly held a gun to her head. And recently, Christian has spoken out against his father and the abusive behaviors against his mother, saying his father incited violence upon his mother, constantly cheated on her, had a bunch of children that he refused to father publicly, and he would refuse to take care of them, pay child support. And I'm going to show you a couple of tweets he posted saying how they would constantly have to move, basically saying his dad was a constant cheater, his dad was a violent person, and that his childhood was awful. In late September 2022, we start to see a shift in Christian's content. That starts when he addresses that heinous TikTok that Adam Levine's sign piece Summer Strofe made, which could only be a whole nother video in itself, and the way she completely victimized herself and used the situation to gain attention. But I digress. Christian Walker, who keep in mind has dealt with his father's constant cheating, often resulting in unplanned children that Herschel would refuse to raise or even pay for, as well as emotional distress for Christian's mother, replied to Strofe's TikTok.
I was having an affair with a man who's married to a Victoria's Secret model, so I was definitely very easily manipulated.
As someone who comes from a broken home,
You're not a victim when you sleep with a married man. The only victims in affairs are the loyal partner and children, if there's any children involved. We've become this weird generation of yelling "poor me" on the internet and expecting to garner all of the support while simultaneously taking absolutely no accountability for our actions. To sleep with a married individual, let alone a celebrity of whom you can check if they're married or not, is a choice. A married person who sleeps with someone outside of their marriage is not a good person. However, that is no excuse for you to partake in their bad behavior. Everybody makes mistakes, everybody can change, but don't you dare make a victim out of yourself when you willingly chose to sleep with a married man who has a family, who has a wife at home, and who has children. And shout out to every person who comes from a broken home, every child who has a parent who had an affair, or every person whose spouse had an affair. It's the worst pain in the world, and you don't need to feel bad for people who willingly chose to put themselves in that position.
I feel like what he said was honestly incredibly well done, and directly stating how he was from a broken home and implying that his father was a cheater really was a big step forward for Christian, and honestly made me have a lot more empathy for him. But in October of 2022, we start to see the massive rift between Christian and his father. And we see that only get worse when his father admits to being pro-life. A clip about Herschel Walker's pro-life stance came out, and when he did not reject the claims that he said in the clips in an interview, which include not allowing exception for abortion in the case of rape, incest, and teen pregnancy, this set Christian Walker off, as Christian stopped all support for his father and exposed his father
at the expense of me, my mom, and all of the people that you've affected throughout your life. You don't get to pretend you're some moral family guy. You don't get to pretend all these things. Talk policy, talk normal, do not lie.
Herschel's son says his dad is not a family man after he left to be with several other women and made the family move 6 times in 6 months because of his violence.
I stayed silent as the atrocities committed against my mom were downplayed. I stayed silent when it came out that my father, Herschel Walker, had all these random kids across the country, none of whom he raised. And you know my favorite issue to talk about is father absence. Surprise, because it affected me. That's why I talk about it all the time, because it affected me. Family values, people. He has 4 kids, 4 different women.
Eliza Schaefer, a right-wing YouTuber and ex-podcaster, criticized Christian Walker and blamed his father's loss on Christian's outspokenness of his father on social media. His tweet reads, in quotation mark, "really thankful for Herschel Walker's son for helping Democrats secure another seat in the Senate. Nobody is better at electing Democrats than Republicans." To be straight, Elijah just seems like an incelish loser, and he would probably have gone unnoticed, but Christian decided to clap back. I'll put the tweets up so you can see them, and he also has this on his TikTok. I would personally read it or hear it in his own words. I think he does a very good job. Yeah, so that's all I really had to say today. I was really happy to see this change in character and content for Christian, and I really hope I can see him grow in the future. If you stayed the entire time, thank you so much.